Okay, so you want to own a YouTube channel. Pick a niche, buy a microphone, make a few videos, upload them, watch the views climb, and let YouTube send money into your bank account every month. That's the picture in most people's heads. Videos, views, subscribers, ads, profit. Here's the number that breaks that picture completely. A YouTube video can get 1 million views and still make less money for its creator than a much smaller video that reaches the right audience and sells a high-value product. That sounds backwards. It isn't. It's exactly how the business is built to work. Most people assume a YouTube channel is, at its core, a video-making business. It isn't. The video is barely the product. The video is the mechanism that acquires attention. And attention is what the entire machine is actually built around. Before we get into why, you need to understand what you're really buying when you start a YouTube channel. You're not buying a camera. You're not buying editing software. You're not even really buying a media company. You're building a small audience acquisition system on top of someone else's infrastructure. YouTube provides the servers, the recommendation engine, the search system, the payment infrastructure, the advertising marketplace, the analytics, the streaming technology, and most importantly, the audience. You provide the content, and then YouTube decides how many people are going to see it. That distinction changes everything. Because if you owned a restaurant, you would control the building. If you owned a retail store, you would control the location. If you owned a newspaper, you would control the publication. But if you own a YouTube channel, the most valuable asset in the entire business, distribution, is controlled by somebody else. You can own the channel, you can own the videos, you can own the brand, but you don't own the recommendation system that decides whether your next video reaches 10,000 people or 10 million. And that creates the first economic reality of YouTube. The creator owns the content, and suddenly, the business that looked like it cost nothing to start can easily cost hundreds or thousands of dollars every month to operate at a professional level. But there is another cost that is even more important. You are paying before you know whether the product will work. That's the dangerous part. The platform owns the distribution, so who actually holds the power? Hold on to that question because the answer changes depending on how successful the channel becomes. When you're starting out, YouTube has almost all the leverage. You have no audience, no historical performance, no proven click-through rate, no returning viewers, no advertiser demand attached to your name. You upload a video and the platform has almost no reason to send it anywhere. You are competing against millions of other pieces of content for the same limited resource, human attention. But once your channel becomes established, the relationship changes. You now have something YouTube wants: viewers who come back, people who click your thumbnails, people who watch several videos in a session, people who trust your recommendations, and advertisers who want access to those viewers. At that point, you are no longer just another person uploading videos. You're an attention-producing business. And that is where the economics become interesting. Now let's talk about what it actually costs to start one of these businesses, because it is simultaneously cheaper and more expensive than most people think. You can technically start a YouTube channel with a phone you already own. The account costs almost nothing. The upload costs almost nothing. The platform doesn't require you to rent an office. You don't need a warehouse. You don't need physical inventory. You don't need delivery trucks. And you don't need employees on day one. That's what makes YouTube look like a perfect business. Almost no traditional barriers to entry. But that doesn't mean the business is free. It means the cost has moved somewhere else. The cost is production. A serious channel needs research, writing, recording, editing, thumbnail design, graphics, music, sound design, animation, fact-checking, titles, analytics, and most importantly, time. A simple 10-minute video can take several hours to produce. A highly researched documentary-style video can take 20, 30, 50, or even more hours before it reaches the audience. And if you outsource the work, those hours don't disappear. They turn into invoices. A scriptwriter might charge anywhere from a modest freelance rate to several $100s for a research script. An editor might charge anywhere from dozens to hundreds of dollars per video, depending on complexity. A thumbnail designer might charge $10, $30, $50, or considerably more for a high-end design. Voiceover adds another expense. Stock footage adds another. Software subscriptions add another. And suddenly the business that looked like it cost nothing to start can easily cost hundreds or thousands of dollars every month to operate at a professional level. But there is another cost that is even more important. You are paying before you know whether the product will work. That's the dangerous part. You can spend 30 hours researching, writing, recording, editing, and packaging a video, then publish it, and get 400 views. The money is gone, the time is gone, and the market has told you something. Nobody cared. That is fundamentally different from many traditional businesses. A restaurant knows how many customers walked through the door. A retailer knows how much inventory sold. A manufacturer knows how many units shipped. A YouTube creator can spend an entire week building something that the market rejects in less than 24 hours. And the rejection isn't always obvious. Sometimes the video is genuinely good. The thumbnail is just weak. Sometimes the thumbnail is excellent. The topic is just too narrow. Sometimes the topic is perfect. The first 30 seconds are too slow. Sometimes everything is good. The audience simply isn't interested that day. That uncertainty is one of the hidden costs of owning a channel. Now let's talk about the first economic wall: monetization. For full advertising revenue through the YouTube Partner Program, a creator generally needs 1,000 subscribers plus either 4,000 valid public watch hours in the previous 12 months or 10 million valid public shorts views in the previous 90 days. YouTube also has an expanded partner program tier that can provide earlier access to selected monetization features at lower thresholds in eligible regions. That means your first business problem isn't actually making money. It's proving that people want to watch you. And this is where thousands of aspiring creators make their first mistake. They think subscribers are the business. They aren't. Subscribers are a signal. Views are a signal. Watch time is a signal. Returning viewers are a signal. The real asset is the relationship between the audience and the creator. A channel with 500,000 subscribers and almost no returning viewers can be economically weaker than a channel with 50,000 subscribers and an audience that watches every upload. Because advertisers aren't buying subscribers, they're buying access to people. And that brings us to the second economic reality. Not every view is worth the same amount of money. A viewer watching a comedy clip isn't economically identical to a viewer researching a mortgage. A person watching a gaming montage isn't economically identical to someone searching for business software. A viewer watching a general entertainment video might generate a completely different advertising value than someone watching a finance, insurance, legal, business, software, or investment-related video. Why? Because advertisers don't value eyeballs equally. They value potential customers. If an advertiser can make $500 in profit from acquiring one customer, paying significantly more to reach that customer can make economic sense. If another advertiser only makes $5 from each customer, the amount they're willing to pay for the same attention is dramatically lower. That is why two channels with identical view counts can have completely different economics. One channel can get millions of views and struggle to generate serious revenue. Another can get a fraction of those views and build a highly profitable business. The difference isn't necessarily popularity, it's commercial value. Now let's talk about advertising, because this is where most people think the YouTube business ends. It doesn't. But advertising is still important because it creates the first scalable revenue stream. YouTube places ads around eligible content. Advertisers pay into that ecosystem. YouTube keeps its platform share. The creator receives the applicable revenue share under the monetization terms. For standard watch page ads, YouTube says creators receive 55% of net ad revenue generated from ads displayed or streamed on their public videos.
That sounds simple, but the actual economics are much more complicated. A creator doesn't simply get a fixed amount for every 1,000 views. The value of those views depends on advertiser demand, viewer geography, content category, seasonality, ad availability, viewer behavior, and whether an ad was actually served. That's why creators talk about RPM rather than simply CPM. RPM is much closer to the number the creator actually sees per thousand views after the relevant revenue calculations. And this is where the mathematics gets interesting. Imagine two channels. Channel A gets 1 million views and averages an RPM of $2. That's roughly $2,000. Channel B gets 1 million views and averages an RPM of $10. That's roughly $10,000. Same number of views, 5 times the revenue. Now imagine the first channel gets 10 million views. It can generate around $20,000 at that hypothetical RPM. The second channel gets only 3 million views. At $10 RPM, it can generate around $30,000. The channel with less than 1/3 of the views makes more money. This is why chasing views alone can be a terrible business strategy. The goal isn't maximum views. The goal is maximum valuable attention. And that's a completely different game. But even that doesn't tell the whole story, because advertising has another problem. It's cyclical. Advertisers don't spend the same amount every month. The advertising market expands and contracts with the economy. Certain periods of the year can be much stronger than others. Some industries spend heavily during shopping seasons. Some reduce budgets during economic uncertainty. Some niches are highly seasonal, and some videos are simply more attractive to advertisers than others. So a creator can experience a bizarre situation where views remain relatively stable while revenue falls. The audience didn't disappear. The economic value of the audience changed. That's important because it means YouTube revenue is partly a media business and partly an advertising market business. You're not just producing content, you're participating in a global auction for advertising attention, and that auction determines what your views are worth. Now here's the number that actually changes how you see this entire business. Advertising doesn't have to be the biggest source of money. In fact, for a sophisticated channel, it often isn't. So if ads aren't the real money maker, what is? Start with sponsorships. A sponsor is fundamentally different from an ad impression. YouTube ads sell individual impressions. A sponsorship sells access to the creator's audience, and that difference can dramatically increase the value of a single video. Imagine a finance channel with 100,000 highly engaged viewers. A financial software company doesn't necessarily care that the channel only received 100,000 views. It cares that those viewers might actually be potential customers. If the product makes hundreds or thousands of dollars per customer over time, paying the creator several $1,000s to introduce the product can make economic sense. That's why sponsorship rates don't have a simple relationship with subscriber count. A creator with 50,000 subscribers in an extremely valuable niche can sometimes be more commercially attractive than a creator with 500,000 subscribers in a low-value entertainment category. The audience matters, the geography matters, the engagement matters, the trust matters, the brand safety matters, and the ability to influence purchasing decisions matters. This is where a YouTube creator starts becoming something closer to a media company. The creator is no longer selling views. They're selling influence. And influence can be extremely high margin. The creator already produced the video. The sponsor segment might add 30 seconds, 60 seconds, or 90 seconds to the production, but the payment can be substantial. That means the incremental cost of sponsorship revenue can be very low. And low incremental cost is one of the most powerful characteristics a business can have. Now put affiliate marketing beside it. This is even more interesting. Instead of getting paid for mentioning a product, you get paid when someone actually buys it. A creator recommends a piece of software. A viewer clicks the link. The viewer signs up. The company pays the creator a commission. Now the video has become a salesperson. But unlike a traditional salesperson, The video doesn't need to be paid every time it speaks. It can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months or years. That's where YouTube's library effect becomes extremely powerful. A video isn't necessarily an expense that disappears after publication. It can become an asset. Imagine a creator spends $500 producing a highly searchable video. The video earns $200 in the first month, then $150, then $100, then $75, then $50, then $40. But if that video continues producing affiliate commissions, ad revenue, leads, or customers for years, its economic life is much longer than its launch period. Traditional advertising often stops producing results when the campaign ends. A good YouTube video can keep working. A YouTube channel can sometimes increase its audience dramatically without proportionally increasing its distribution cost. That creates enormous potential margins, but it also creates enormous competition because if the economics are attractive, everyone wants in. And that's why the long-term winners aren't necessarily the people who arrive first. They're the people who build something difficult to copy, a unique perspective, a trusted reputation, a recognizable format, a loyal audience, a strong production system, a valuable product, a community, or some combination of all of them. The camera is easy to copy. The thumbnail style is easy to copy. The topic is easy to copy. The trust isn't. And that's the real moat. So let's bring the entire business model together. The creator spends money to produce content. The content attracts attention. YouTube distributes that content. The attention generates advertising opportunities. The audience can also attract sponsors. The videos can generate affiliate sales. The audience can purchase products. Some viewers become members. Some become customers. Some become part of a community. The revenue funds more content. The content expands the library generates additional traffic, and the growing audience increases the economic value of every future video. That's the flywheel. And once it starts turning, the economics become increasingly powerful. But it only works if the creator understands the difference between traffic and value. 10 million random views can be less valuable than 100,000 highly relevant viewers. A million subscribers can be less valuable than 50,000 loyal customers. A viral video can be less valuable than an evergreen tutorial. A huge audience can be less valuable than a trusted niche. And a high monthly income can be less valuable than a business that can operate without you. Those distinctions are what separate YouTube as a hobby from YouTube as an economic asset. And that brings us back to the number that breaks the entire picture. The number isn't 1 million. It isn't 10 million. It isn't even 1 billion. It's one. One viewer. One person who clicks. One person who watches. One person who trusts you. One person who comes back. One person who eventually becomes a customer. Because if you understand how to create that relationship repeatedly, scale becomes possible. You don't need everyone. You need the right people, and you need a system capable of serving them repeatedly. That's why the economics of owning a YouTube channel are so different from what most people imagine. The video isn't the business. The views aren't the business. The subscribers aren't the business. The business is the system underneath them. A system that acquires attention. A system that converts attention into trust. A system that converts trust into economic value. And a system that can keep doing it after the original video is already buried beneath hundreds of newer uploads. The creator who understands that stops asking, "How do I get more views?" and starts asking, "How much is each viewer worth? How long can I keep their attention? How many revenue streams can I build around their needs? How much of the relationship do I actually own? And how dependent am I on the platform that brought them to me?" Those are business questions. And once you start asking business questions, YouTube stops looking like social media. It starts looking like infrastructure, a global distribution network that allows one person with relatively little physical capital to potentially reach millions of people. But the platform provides the infrastructure. You have to provide the reason people stay. That's the hard part. And that's why so many channels fail even though the technology is available to everyone. The tools are cheap, attention is expensive, the equipment is accessible, trust is difficult, uploading is easy, building a durable audience is not. And making money once is easy compared with building a business that keeps making money. So, what actually separates the creator who makes a few $100s from the creator who builds a serious media company? It's not simply subscriber count. It's not simply views. It's not even the number of uploads. It's the ability to build leverage. Leverage through content, leverage through teams, leverage through technology, leverage through intellectual property, leverage through audience trust, leverage through recurring revenue, and ultimately, leverage through ownership. Because the strongest YouTube business isn't the one that gets the most attention today. It's the one that can turn today's attention into tomorrow's audience, tomorrow's customers, tomorrow's revenue, and tomorrow's assets. A single video gets watched once, but if the channel is built correctly, that viewer can become part of an economic relationship that lasts for years. And that is the real story behind owning a YouTube channel. It isn't a camera sitting on a desk. It isn't an upload button. It isn't a subscriber counter. It's a digital business built around one of the scarcest resources in the modern economy: human attention. Before we wrap up, if you want a deeper practical breakdown of how successful channels turn views into real businesses, there's a detailed business guide linked in the description and pinned in the comments below. It's worth checking out if you're serious about understanding what happens behind the numbers. And that's the real economics of owning a YouTube channel. The video gets the click. The story earns the watch. The audience creates the value. And the business determines how much of that value you actually keep. If you enjoyed this breakdown, do us a favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share it with someone who's thinking about starting a YouTube channel. Because now, you know, you're not really building a collection of videos, you're building a machine that turns attention into trust, trust into customers, and customers into a business. Thanks so much for watching.